Hello, homeschool moms. In this video, I want to share with you my, I don't know if you want to call it method or philosophy for doing homeschool in the middle school year. So this is kind of my philosophy or method of how I have taught my kids and taken my kids through the middle school years in our homeschool. And when I say middle school years, I'm talking about 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I know that some schools in different areas, middle school or junior high is just 7th and 8th grade, but here I'm talking about 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Those are the years that I'm kind of applying this method or philosophy that I'm going to share with you. And what it is really what I like to call a bridge. I'm thinking of the middle school years as a bridge to help my kids get from elementary level learning to high school level learning. So instead of during the middle school years of just throwing more information at them and having them do more subjects, I'm really intentional about thinking about how I can bridge the gap between where they are in elementary, ending in 5th grade, and getting them to where they need to be in 9th grade. And so while my kids are still doing all the normal subjects in middle school, they're still doing English and history and science and math and all of those things, I am picking curriculum and choosing the way that we do things with a few goals in mind. And one of those is to help my kids develop the skills that they need for high school level work. And then the second thing that I'm helping my kids do is helping them improve in maybe the areas or the subjects that they struggle in or any gaps that they have. So let me give you some examples. In the elementary years, your child probably is going to take a history course on American history. They're going to learn a lot of fun facts about the founding of our country and the different things that have taken place throughout history in America. But when they get into high school, they're going to learn American history at a more in-depth, rigorous, and advanced level. So while my kids might take an American history course again in middle school, my goal isn't really to give them more information about American history. They've gotten some in elementary, they're going to get it again in high school. I'm going to use that American history course, if they do take it in middle school, I'm going to use that course to help them build the skills that they need to get to high school level learning, or to help them improve in the areas that they struggle in. So maybe you have a child who has really struggled with reading and reading comprehension. And so reading didn't come easy to them. It has been a slow process. You might want to use the middle school years, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, to focus more on helping your student to become a better reader so that they can succeed in high school at the high school level reading levels and comprehension levels that they need to be at. But in doing so, you might need to maybe lighten the load in other subjects so that they don't feel overwhelmed as they improve in their reading skills. Maybe you're going to do a really light literature course in middle school to help them with reading and reading comprehension. So you're not going to actually go out maybe and buy a literature course. You're just going to give them a list of books that you think that they'd be interested in. Maybe they're a grade or two below their reading level. And maybe for 15-20 minutes a day, they're going to read out of those books out loud to you to work on their reading. And then maybe you're going to then have them read from maybe the same book and work more on reading comprehension. So maybe they read out loud to you for a little bit and you discuss it and help train them and work with them on reading comprehension. And then you have them go off and read another 10-15 minutes by themselves. And then they have to come back on their own and tell you what they learned and what they comprehended from that. Maybe your student is has done really well in terms of math, understanding math concepts, but their math facts they never mastered. And so while they're doing really well in 5th grade math and 6th grade math, they're slowed down a little bit because they're taking a long time to think through those math facts that they never memorized. Well, maybe the middle school years would be a great time to focus on memorizing math facts. But if you're going to add that in and focus on that skill and helping them improve that so that They can, get those facts one right after the other and just recall them right away, which will be very helpful in high school level math courses where they've got all kinds of math calculations that they need to do, and those facts need to come to them really quickly. So what you might want to do in middle school is, while they're continuing on in their normal math curriculum, because they're understanding the general concepts, you want to take maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes each day or a couple times each week to have them work on memorizing math facts, which means you might give them an easier history course or an easier science course or an easier English course than maybe they could actually handle, just so that they have time to focus on those math skills. Because for me, in the middle school years, it's not about them necessarily getting more information, but about learning the skills that they need for high school level work, as well as if they go off into a trade school or college, or just being able to function well in the adult world. I use the middle school years to help build those skills. So another example, a personal one for my family, is that I don't use quizzes or tests, or I don't give quizzes and tests in the elementary school years, but I do use them in high school. So the middle school years are the perfect kind of training ground for helping my kids learn how to take notes, how to study for a test, and how to take a test or quiz. And so while I don't give them grades and I don't keep track of their grades in the middle school years, I'm still using it as a training ground for them to gain that skill of taking notes and learning how to study and learning how to take tests. And so I have chosen curriculum that's going to help me in doing that. So for example, my sixth grader has not done quizzes or tests ever. And so this year, I purposely chose one particular BJU Press video-based course, which is the history course that he's taking. I am having him do that through the Homeschool Hub, because with the Homeschool Hub, he can take those quizzes and tests online and they're graded automatically. And so that takes a load off of me while still he's getting to practice taking quizzes and tests. But if he doesn't do well on those quizzes and tests, then I will take a day or two to sit down with them and teach him some more skills on how to study and prepare for a test. And then with the Homeschool Hub, I can just reset that quiz or test. And so it gets rid of the score and what he already did. I can reset it, he can take it again. And again, if he doesn't do well, it's okay. Our goal isn't to get through the history curriculum. It's to use this history course to help him learn how to take quizzes and tests. And even more importantly, how to take notes and how to study for information, because a lot of times, even in the workforce, you have to study and prepare for different presentations or things that you're doing on the job. So that's a skill I just want him to learn. And so we can slow the course down and just focus on learning how to take quizzes and tests, how to study, how to take notes using this BJU Press history course. And it makes it easy for me because I can just reset the tests and quizzes as many times as I want, and he can retake them as many times as he needs to as he grows and develops in that skill. Another example is of a skill that I want my son to learn and that I want my kids to learn in the middle school years, like I said, is how to take notes and how to study properly. And so there are some courses that I might pick that, again, are something that maybe my student is really going to enjoy, and it's not going to be overwhelming to him. And we can use that as an opportunity to learn how to take notes and how to study. Because obviously, if your child has a course they don't enjoy and that's frustrating to them and that they struggle in, it is not the course that you want to use. It's not the subject that you want to use to teach a new skill or to help them grow in a skill or ability. You want to teach them a new skill in the context of a subject that they really enjoy or that maybe is easier for them. So, for example, My son has done a lot of BJU Press video courses where he gets instruction from the teachers on the video lessons. And through his elementary years, any of the other courses that he has done or subjects that he has done that's not like a video-based course, I have taught to him. So he's still getting instruction from me. So what I realized was that one of the skills that he needs to develop and grow in is being able to open up a textbook, to read through it, to be able to take notes and get the information just from a textbook or whatever book he's using, instead of also having the verbal instruction from somebody else. So for that and learning that skill, I decided to use a curriculum that is several grade levels below where he's at in a subject that he absolutely loves. So my 6th grader loves science. That's probably the field that he's going to go into, and he is really good at science. So we chose a science curriculum that's a little bit below his level when it comes to science, but it's a curriculum and topic that I know that he loves and that he enjoys and that he is good at, and so it's a great opportunity then to use it to teach the skill of learning more independently. And so we went with a science course from Generations where it has the schedule listed out, and so he is learning how to just open that up and look at the schedule. It tells him what pages to read, what worksheets to do, when to take a quiz, when to take a test, and he can work through that independently. Now, obviously, in the beginning of the school year, I'm going to be probably helping a lot, coming alongside and walking him through how to get the information that he needs from the textbook that he's reading without, additional verbal instruction, helping maybe him learn how to outline things a little bit better, how to study for tests, but we're using a subject that he loves, that he's good at, he enjoys, and that's a couple grade levels below where he's really at. So that means that my son is going to be able to learn how to take notes, how to study, how to work independently with a curriculum that is going to be enjoyable and easy for him to use, because again, the goal isn't really for him to learn all of this new science information. Most of the information in this textbook is probably stuff that he already knows. The goal in using the science course is, one, to have him take a science course and to continue on with that, but then two, to learn these skills that he's going to need in the high school years. So like I said, the middle school years I use as a bridge from elementary to high school. And I said that I use that to help them improve in skills that maybe they don't have or they need a little bit more practice in to be able to handle high school level learning, but also to improve in subjects in different areas that they might struggle in. Nobody is perfect at everything. And so all of us have areas of strength and all of us have areas of weakness. And so if we can then use the middle school years to help our student build up and mature and get better in those areas that they struggle in, the key is, again, cutting out some things in other subjects, making maybe certain subjects a little bit easier for them so that you can spend more time in those skills. Now, some kids are more academically oriented, and so they might be ready in the middle school years in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade to start a high school level course. And you can certainly do that as a homeschooler. And you can put that on their high school transcript. If they take a high school level course and they do the high school level work, then it doesn't matter when they took it. It can be put on their transcript. And just because they are taking a high school level course, maybe in math, doesn't mean that they have to do that though for every other subject. So you can still focus the middle school years on developing those skills, bringing them up to speed in areas that they're struggling in, while still allowing them to move forward and make progress in the subjects and the areas that they excel in. Now, one of the things that I have seen though in the middle school years is that some kids, while they are ready for that rigorous academic high school level course, they're not ready for that level of academic or high school level work. So they're ready for the academics. They can think at that higher level. They can process the information. They can retain it. I mean, they're ready for that level of thinking, but not that level of workload. One of the things that you could do in the middle school years is you could take 2 years to do a high school level course. Now on the transcript, on the high school transcript, you would only be giving them 1 credit or 1 year's worth of credit for that course, even though they took 2 years, because they only did 1 credit or 1 year worth of work, but they did it over 2 years in the middle school years. And that's perfectly okay too. If they are academically ready to be challenged, then go ahead and move them forward. But if you feel like the workload is too much for them, break it up into 2 years, and then they're still ahead in terms of on the high school transcript. It's just they got that subject done. Maybe it is a biology course. So on their high school transcript, it's going to say that they took biology and that they got 1 credit, but they did it maybe in 7th and 8th grade. That's perfectly all right too. I mean, that is one of the wonderful things about homeschooling, is that we can adjust things and do things that are best for our kids. So for me, I have found that using 6th, 7th, and 8th grade as a bridge between elementary and high school has worked the best for my family. Might not be the method that works the best for yours, but I like, for my family, I found that not focusing on giving them new information, well, they do get new information, but focusing on helping them grow and develop skills and grow in areas that they struggle in, while still letting them move forward if they want in areas that they're really strong in, has worked the best for my family. So I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. What has worked for you in the middle school years? Is this something you've ever even heard of? Something that you might consider? Now, 2 things that I do want to encourage you to do, not only in the middle school years, but also just all the years that you're homeschooling. And the first one is that you prayerfully seek the Lord about your unique family and your unique child. Because while I have been homeschooling for over 20 years and I have 7 children and I've graduated 3, that still doesn't mean that what works for my family and the input that I'm sharing here is going to be the best for your family. But you know what? The Lord knows exactly what your child needs in any given situation, any given year, in each subject. So make sure that you're prayerfully seeking the Lord for wisdom on the education of your child. Number 2, especially in the middle school years, if you're trying to change things up and like I do, and maybe cut some things out so that they can focus on some different skills, I encourage you to make sure that you are homeschooling legally in whatever state you live in. And the best way to do that is to visit HSLDA's website. That's Homeschool Legal Defense Association. I will leave a link to them down below. You can just click on the state that you live in and it will show you all of the different ways that you can homeschool legally in that state. And a lot of states have several different options for homeschooling. And so if you're currently homeschooling and you're thinking, wait a second, I can't make these changes, I can't do things this way because I have to meet these requirements and check these boxes, I encourage you to check out HSLDA's website, because there might be an alternative option for you when it comes to homeschooling that might provide you with more flexibility. Another thing to consider is that if you are homeschooling or home educating your child through a charter school, there's going to be a lot of more strings attached. And actually, if you are teaching your children at home through a charter school, your student is actually a public school student. And so that is not actually one of the, on the HSLDA website, that's not one of the options that they have for homeschooling. All of the options for homeschooling are where you're actually doing school apart from the public school system. And so with the public school system, with charter schools, comes a lot of strings that are attached. So you might want to consider checking out that the HSLDA website and seeing if maybe there's a way that you can educate your child at home apart from the charter school that allows you more flexibility to educate your children the way that you think is best and the way that God is leading you. So I will leave a link to the HSLDA website below, and hopefully you'll find that helpful. It's always important that we are doing our best to homeschool legally and to abide by the laws of the state that we live in, and HSLDA is a great resource for making sure that we're doing that. And then of course we want to make sure we're seeking the Lord for wisdom on how to educate our children. I can share with you a lot of great advice and things that have worked for me, but really what it comes down to is what the Lord has for you and your child. He knows you, he knows your child, he knows the way that you interact, he knows what your child is going to be doing when they graduate from high school, and he knows what they need, what skills they need, what subjects they need to take, what areas they need to improve in. And so I'd encourage you, before you turn on YouTube, before you watch any of my videos or any other videos on YouTube, that you make sure that you're seeking the Lord and asking for his wisdom, because that really is the best place to start. All right, well, that's it. If you have more questions about how I homeschool in the middle school years and this whole concept of using the middle school years as a bridge to help my children get from elementary age learning to high school level learning, you can leave those questions down in the comments and I will try to answer them as best I can as I see them pop up. All right, I will see you soon, hopefully, Lord willing, in another video.